us from staff, law group, congratulations and thank you so much for taking part. And of course, a wonderful thank you to the Australian Arab Council as well for loaning you tonight for us. So I really do appreciate that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. We're going to talk about the future, slightly scary. It's all about AI, generative AI. We would have seen a presentation similar to this earlier last year, but we did not even know it. So now we have Mutaz. I got the syllables wrong. Mutaz Abu Ghazaleh. Yep. Okay, at least we got that bit. So I'm going to call you Sir from now on. So we have Sir over here who's going to do the presentation about the world of AI. And we picked a good Sir indeed because our mate here, accomplished AI and data scientist professional with over 20 years experience in technology industry. You want to listen to this one, gents. He recently served as a global black belt in AI ML lead for ANZ at Microsoft, where he's been instrumental in delivering AI and machine learning initiatives. Now, if you understand what I just said then, it's more about the Terminator, right? Machine learning and AI, great. With the Middle Eastern attitude, I wonder how that movie will go, so I'm sure you're going to fill in the blanks on that. Okay, he's also worked in architect for data, AI, architect for, I think that's customer experience solutions, Azure apps, Internet of Things Center of Excellence. Prior to joining Microsoft, he served as a software development lead for various roles in Jordan. Throughout his career, he has honoured his experience in various domains ranging from data science to AI, Internet of Things and cloud computing. And right with us tonight, we have Sir with us, Mr. Ghazaleh. Please join us on the stage. Can't wait to do your presentation.
So, I understand that the only thing between you and dinner. So probably I'll take my time. Alright? I do the thing. Excellent. So thank you everyone. Thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here talking to the AABC. But today I want to talk about the future. I call it the future is here, a journey into the world of AI and generative AI. Pretty sure we're all hearing a lot of news, a lot of buzz around AI, ChatGPT and all of that. So maybe let's talk a little bit more about that. What does that mean? And why is that important, right? But before we start, where's George? My name is Mutaz Abu Ghazaleh. I've been with Microsoft for almost 20 years now, but before that, various roles in the software industry, software development industry. I lead the AI solution selling for Microsoft in Australia and New Zealand. I've been in this role for like almost 3 years as the lead for AI solution selling Microsoft. Alright, so let me start with ChatGPT. Now, I don't know if you want to raise your hand if you use ChatGPT, right? Okay, that's good stuff. Alright, so we all use ChatGPT. So before coming to the session, since we're going to talk about AI and generative AI, I thought I'd ask ChatGPT, what is generative AI? So I went to ChatGPT, as you can see, what is generative AI? It came back and said, generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create new content, such as text and images and music, yada yada and all of that. And we've all experienced this, right? Like you go to ChatGPT, you ask it, for instance, I have a planning a trip to Melbourne for 3 days, I have 2 kids with me, what should I do, right? So it helps you brainstorm and come up with ideas and all of that. So I was like, okay, that's fantastic. I like that. So what is ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT is an application that was built that uses generative AI to make that whole generative AI thing accessible to people. So ChatGPT is one of the first applications that became very popular and went viral when it was released. And it's there, you can talk to it, you can use natural language, it will answer questions for you, it will help you do some brainstorming, it can do lots of activities for you. So I was like, okay, that's fantastic, but how can it help me, right? So how do I use ChatGPT? So on a personal level, I use ChatGPT and things like answering questions. I've got a 12-year-old daughter, she just started high school, she's got all kinds of questions, right? And I don't have any answers. So there's always ChatGPT on my phone. It's like, what do you want? I'll find out for you, right? So it's really good because you can actually interact with it, right? Like you can ask it a question, it will answer you, and then ask a follow-up question, and then maybe clarify your question, and it will help you with that. But it's not only answering questions; it can also help you with planning, right? So I might be planning. As a matter of fact, when I was planning this session, I had a discussion with ChatGPT. ChatGPT was my trusted advisor. It's like, hey, look, here's the context. I'm presenting to a group of business people. I want to talk about this topic. Can you help me? I need a suggestion for the agenda. And it helped me with the agenda. And then I started drilling into it. Like, okay, so what do I talk about here? How about this? How about that? I want to include this topic. Can you help me flesh it out? So it's really a really good productivity tool. It's like your personal consultant advisor in your pocket, helping you with your work. Then I have a thing for education and healthcare. I think those are two very important industries. And I think whatever new technology advancement we have, we really always need to think about how can we use this to better education and health. So I went to ChatGPT and was like, okay, how can we use this technology to improve education? And ChatGPT starts coming up with ideas. Maybe you can use it as a personal tutor to help kids ask more questions. You think about it, ChatGPT could be a tutor that is never sick of questions from kids. And it can go as deep as kids want to go. It can help them find information faster and go as deep as they want. So this is kind of my little interaction with ChatGPT, and I'm pretty sure all of you had a similar interaction at some point with ChatGPT. So, ladies and gentlemen, the future of AI is here. This is not something that will happen in 10 years' time. It's not something that will happen in 5 years' time. It's something that is happening right now. And it's global, and you've got all kinds of organizations and governments and education institutes already adopting this technology, and it's already transforming their business. So the world is definitely changing now. Industries are transforming rapidly using this type of technology. It is driving economic growth. I like to compare this to when the printing press was first introduced. That created this economic growth and transformation in humanity, in how we communicate and how we share information. And I think with this type of technology that we're seeing right now, which started almost a year ago, we are starting a new era, and I think that's the era of AI. But this whole AI thing is not something that started last year. Okay? It's something that started very long time ago. And when we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, we typically refer to software or computer applications that try to copy and mimic human understanding and tries to reason with data in a way a human can. So that's trying to mimicking our intelligence. That's something that started back in the day, 1950s. Of course, it was very basic and was created, or AI was developed to do very specific tasks. And throughout the years, we went through what we call the AI winter. The development and research in AI slowed down a little bit. We're not seeing much progress in the AI space until we started seeing an explosion and development in compute power. Because those AI machines, they actually need a lot of compute, right? So with like, if you look at the computing devices that we have today, like in your pocket, in your phone, you have a machine that is capable of taking pictures, recognizing faces, transcribing text, recording audio. It's a very powerful computer in your pocket. But that wasn't the case 10, 20 years ago. So obviously there's a lot of development that happened in that space so that we can get that level and scale of computing that then allowed us to go and train computer machine learning models and AI to be able to do more tasks. Now, if you remember, maybe it was around the 2010 time frame, we started seeing applications on mobile phones and apps that can recognize objects in images. So that's like magic. It will look at an image and tell you, yeah, that's a cat, that's a dog. Or it can look at an image and will circle the face. Okay, that's the face of a human being. So that's called cognitive AI. And that was possible through the development of what we call deep learning. So deep learning is a subset of artificial intelligence that is really enabled and powered by the development that happened in computing and cloud computing. Now fast forward to almost 2016, Microsoft built the biggest AI computer. We call the AI supercomputer. So we've built that biggest AI supercomputer, then we handed this supercomputer to an organization called OpenAI. OpenAI was founded by Elon Musk and a few others. Okay? And OpenAI started doing that research, started using that supercomputer to build new type of AI models. Now we call them generative AI. Last year, beginning of last year, or actually November of the year before, so it's almost a year and a half now, OpenAI released ChatGPT. So that was the first application of AI. So as you can see, AI is not new. It's just been going through iterative development and improvement until it got to a point where we look at ChatGPT and we think, oh wow, that's magic. Now of course throughout the journey there was lots of developments and lots of research breakthroughs that allowed us to get to the point where we are. And in the world of AI, again, AI is the computer software technology that tries to mimic human intelligence. We like to measure progress by human parity. So what does that mean? We like to look at when were we able to create an AI that can match the human ability in a certain task. And if you look at it, it took us years to get to human parity in object detection. Object detection meaning that I can look at a ball and say, I can look at a cat and say that's a cat. Took us years to get to that stage. But then after that, we've reached human parity in speech recognition. So now you can turn on the transcription and it will start transcribing, okay? Then after that, we started doing more and more development. In around, what was it? 2019. Around 2019, we reached human parity in conversational Q&A, questioning and answering. So now we got to a point where we have a piece of AI that is as good as a human in answering questions based on data that it has access to. Now, fast forward to, I think I pressed the wrong button. Fast forward to 2022, that's when ChatGPT was released, and then after that, shortly after that, GPT-4 was released. I'll explain what does that mean in a second. Okay? So as you can see, there was a lot of development that happened over the years to build AI that can handle very specific tasks and get very, very good at those tasks. And that took a lot of years, a lot of research, a lot of compute to get to that stage. So this started to differentiate between the traditional AI that powered all those breakthroughs and the AI that we see today, which we call generative AI. I don't expect you to look at this diagram and try to understand what's going on, but I'll try to explain what's happening there, right? So back in the day, when AI research was happening and development was happening, the approach to build AI was to train the machine on doing a single task. So yes, it's artificial intelligence, but it's not really smart. Okay, so you can train the machine to distinguish between a cat and a dog. You can train a machine to learn how to transcribe a certain language. You can train the machine to learn how to translate from one language to the other. But you're training the machine to do just one single task. Okay? So this is how we used to do AI back in the day. And as you can imagine, that could be very, very labor intensive. It takes years to train the machine to do all the different types of tasks so that it can match human intelligence. Back in 2016, this is when we started seeing a different approach of AI. Okay? So researchers were like, you know what? Let's stop doing that. Let's stop doing the training of the machine to do a single task. And let's train the machine to understand language, period. That's when they created what they call a foundational model. So foundational model is a very large language model. They managed to feed almost all the internet into that language model. Just to give you the scale of how much data was used to teach the machine the languages. Wikipedia, you know Wikipedia, it's the online encyclopedia, right? Wikipedia was only 3% of the data that was used to train the machine. This is how big the information or the data that was used to train this machine. And the whole idea was like, let's build a foundational model that understands language really, really, really well. But it's not tuned to do anything. It just understands language. It knows how language works. Turned out later on that language and intelligence, they kind of have some sort of correlation there. And then after they built that language model, they trained on everything on the internet and a few other data sets, they started tweaking it and adapting it to do a certain task. So they kind of flipped the problem on its head. Instead of training the machine to do a task, it's like, you know what? Skip that. Let's give the machine foundational capabilities and then tweak it to do a task. And all of a sudden, we have a large language model that can answer questions, that can do sentiment analysis, that can summarize, that can generate, that can write poets, that can write questions and answers, that can do all kinds of different things. I think this is the inflection point where all of a sudden we all look at AI as like, this is impressive, this is really, really good. Okay, so what can AI do? I'll start by talking about GPT. So the GPT is the general pre-trained model. Okay, so it's the thing that was trained on so many, a lot of data, and basically it's a language model. It's linguistically talented. It has access to a lot of information that it learned from the data, and basically you can ask it a question in your language with spelling mistakes, in Arabic, in English, doesn't really matter, in a mix, and somehow it understands what you ask for and it will give you a good answer. And it follows instruction. So you can ask it the same question, and then you can ask it the same question, but also instruct it to answer in a way that is suitable for a 6-year-old or a year 6 student. And it will change its tone, it will change the language so that it can answer in that tone. So it's very, very good at manipulating language and putting it together to generate text in a way that you would like it to do. But that's not all what generative AI can do. With DALL-E 3 is an image generation model. Okay? All the pictures that you see here are generated by DALL-E 3. And the way it works, very similar to ChatGPT. You just give it a prompt or an instruction, and you ask it to create an image. So in here you see, I asked it, this is yesterday, I've done these examples yesterday now, right? I asked it to create an image for an astronaut riding a horse in a photorealistic style. And it came up with a couple of options. I picked this one, I think it's really, really good. So this is how good generative AI is getting to. And I think with language you can imagine what are the use cases for it, like writing, summarization, and all of that. But you might ask yourself, like, what would I use something like this for, right? Like an image generation model. It turns out that actually there's a lot of good uses for image generation. I do have actually one of my clients in Asia. They use the image generation model as part of therapy for aged care. It's like, they call it art therapy. And in a way, they can manage to blend this in a set of environment so that as they care for the aged, they give them a space where they can express themselves and create art. So apparently, there is actually applications for such technology. Now, I think it was earlier this week, there was a new breakthrough that happened in AI. This one will blow your mind. This video was generated using that piece of text that you see on the screen. And if you look at it, it's really a piece of art, like it's a work of art. If you look at it, it understood the concept of pirate ships battling each other. And they're kind of going and moving around each other. It understands that there's a cup of coffee, like even the froth makes a cup of coffee. Obviously, the setting is not real, right? There's no such thing in life, right? There's no battleships, pirate ships battling each other in a cup of coffee. But it understood all of that. It understood the physics of it. If you look at how the waves are moving and how the ships are moving around each other, it was able to simulate all of that and create a short video that satisfies your prompt. So this was announced just this week. Now, this has the potential of changing so many different things. I cannot even start thinking about what kind of use cases and applications for such technology and how is that going to impact things like, I don't know, simulation for training. Okay, people maybe in the building industry. You've got new trainees and you simulate certain scenarios and you can actually instruct this so that you can simulate it based on input and based on feedback to the students. Imagine combining this with a capability like what you get in ChatGPT, where it can help you think and generate scenarios and do all of that, and then maybe feed it to go and create a video with the proper physics in it that will simulate that scenario. So I think we're looking at something really, really big here. All right, cool. Now, all of this, as I mentioned, it's been there. People are using it. It's making a real impact on industries and economies. Probably one of the most known and popular form of generative AI. Now, here's the thing. When I usually do these presentations, I'm talking to people in my industry. So when I talk about software development, they know what I'm talking about, right? So you know what goes into software development and all of that. So hopefully you appreciate this example, right? So this is what we call GitHub Copilot. So GitHub Copilot was one of the first really useful generative AI tool that allows software developers to write code faster. Now, this is very important, and I'll explain why. The other day, I had an event and literally was walking in the morning. My session starts at 9 a.m. I ran into a couple of my colleagues before going into the event. It's like, I'm Mutaz, by the way, there's this person, that person in the event, make sure it's really good. And we came up with an idea. I was like, I wish I have something to demonstrate this idea. So I turned to GitHub Copilot. Literally, it took me half an hour in the morning. I was explaining what I want the application to do, the software to do, and it wrote that software for me. And then I revised it. I told it, no, I don't like this, I like that, change it here, change it there. In less than half an hour, I had an application. I walked on stage and I was able to demonstrate to the audience an application that matches their needs. So imagine, prior to all of this, it'll probably take me maybe, 2 weeks, right, to do that. I was able to do that in 30 minutes. So the productivity gains that we get in this specific scenario are amazing. We've got data to show that developers are at least 55% more productive and they work faster. Now imagine taking that technology, which is serving the software industry really, really well, and start applying it in other industries. I think there are parallels there. There are things that we can learn from the software industry and how they're using it, and start using it elsewhere. Imagine you are a copywriter, right? And now all of a sudden, you can do your work a lot faster and probably with the higher quality as well. All right. Now, why should we care? Okay. We've done a study last year with the Tech Council of Australia. We looked at a couple of industries in Australia. We looked at healthcare, manufacturing, retail, and professional services to try and understand the potential impact of generative AI on those industries. So it's a published study. I've included the link here, or if you just take the name of that study and look it up. It was published in July 2023. The economic impact according to this study, the economic impact of this technology on the healthcare industry is up to $13 billion. On the manufacturing industry, we're thinking it's maybe around $5 billion. And it's similar numbers that repeat itself in different industries. So $9 billion impact on retail, $9 billion impact on professional and financial services. So if you look at it, I think there's a huge opportunity ahead of us. For business people, there's a huge economic opportunity ahead of us. I'm very, very passionate about healthcare and education, and I think there's a huge opportunity also to provide better healthcare and better education using generative AI. And to give you an example, right? Here's an example of Grammarly Go, which I realize I don't have access to internet on my computer, so probably I will not be able to run the videos. I'll just talk you through it, okay? So these are actual real examples, okay? I'll skip Grammarly. I'll talk about LawView Assist. LawView Assist. LawView is a professional services provider in the legal industry. They call themselves legal tech, so they build legal software for legal counsel, in-house legal counsel and all of that. They are one of my customers. They're based out of New Zealand. And when we started this whole thing, we worked with them, and they ended up building an AI assistant that will help the internal contract teams or procurement teams to work with their contracts. So you can go into that AI assistant and ask a question about the contract. So when does this contract expire? Who are the parties? What are the special terms and conditions? You will ask questions. You'll ask it in your language, and you can ask curveball questions like, is there something in the terms and conditions that is not usual or is not a standard term and condition? It'll be able to reason over that data and give you good answers. So that's one example, and it's there. They are one of our first mover customers that moved into building solutions with AI. This is dear to my heart, and it's here in Australia. South Australian high school system started experimenting with this technology last year, and now they're rolling out a South Australian ChatGPT. So it's custom built for them, and it's tuned for their students. And just recently, it's like probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks old, New South Wales Education started doing the same thing. So as you can see, it's happening, it's there. We've got education institutes, we've got Department of Education jumping on board and already starting to do that. I don't know about you, but I try to learn languages. And I've realized at this age it's very hard to learn new languages. So I use Duolingo. Duolingo is an app on the phone. It helps you learn languages. And I do that every night. I sit down with Duolingo and do like maybe 15 minutes of Duolingo. Duolingo is including this AI so that they can tailor the questions and the answers and help you get better and target your weakness areas in learning languages. So this is how AI is transforming even the personal productivity and personal use. All right. Last but not least, right? I think it's all very exciting. When I look at where is this future of AI heading, first of all, hopefully you understand and realize how important and exciting this opportunity is. The one thing that we know for sure is that development and research is not going to stop. Again, just earlier this week, the new image video generation technology became really, really good. And I was showing you the video of the two pirate ships in a couple. That same technology a year ago, if you look at the examples of the output, it wasn't good at all. So the rate of development is so high, and things are moving really, really, really fast. Which means that we really need to stop and think about, okay, how do we start using this AI on a personal level, but also in my business? How do I benefit from AI? And really look for opportunities to transform my business using AI. Now, in saying all of that, I know a lot of people, they have concerns about AI and Terminator and all of that. I think one of the things that really need to happen, and starting to happen right now, is governments, they need to govern and legislate for AI. Again, with great opportunities and new technologies, there is always risks. We're not denying that. Okay? We don't want the risks to stop us from actually benefiting from the AI, but what we really need is for governments and organizations to govern and legislate so that AI is safer and it's also equitable. So, and the last bit I'd like to talk about is AI and jobs. A lot of people have this fear that AI will take my job. I don't know if you've heard this before. Some people say, we'll no longer have this or that because AI can do it. Now, here's the thing, and this is a very pragmatic reality. Okay? With every technology that transforms our economy, it also transforms the jobs and the industries. Some jobs will disappear and new jobs will appear. So we need to keep this in mind, right? I do remember when I was in the mother country, actually when I was in Jordan, when we used to call the family in Palestine, you actually need to call someone and they will plug you in, they call it the central, right? We don't do this anymore, right? Because technology has developed in the telecommunication to a point where you don't have to do this anymore. So please keep this in mind. Yes, AI is big and there's a lot of uncertainties and all of that. Definitely there are risks, but there's so many opportunities. Businesses will transform, okay? And almost every industry will transform and be disrupted. So think about it, like, do you want to be disrupting or disrupted by AI? And I can see food starting to arrive, so maybe we'll open for questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Mutaz, on such a Mutaz presentation.
Thank you.
There we go. So if you have any questions about AI, please do raise your hands. I'm going to go around and give you a point and a nod, so that way we know our order. So 1, 2, any more coming through, please do let me know, and I'll put you on the list. 3 as well.
Thank you, Mutaz. It's a great presentation. I know you referred to the concerns about jobs towards the end, but I can't help but think what you just told us. It's not just a simple threat to jobs like when automation came into place, where you would lose, some labourers would lose their positions in manufacturing and so on. We're talking here about information technology, we're talking about advancement, we're talking about science, we're talking about legal, accounting. All the information that we seek out in the world today just about most of it, we go to advisors or to consultants and professionals, doctors if we're feeling down, lawyers if we have issues, and so on and on. To me, this is a scary. It's exciting, like I said, if you think it pragmatically, but also I can see a massive transformation. How do you envisage the line? Where would the line be drawn, and where are we going to end up? Today we're in 2024. What's going to happen in 10, 20 years' time?
Thank you. I think that's it's an excellent point. I think with this technology, let's take the healthcare system, right? And you kind of suggested, the lawyers, we go to lawyers, we go to doctors, we go to professionals and whatnot. And I sense that you're probably implying that with this AI, do we need to go to those people? Or what's the role of those people in the future, and how their industry transforms? Now, I think with this type of technology, what it does to everything around us, individually and the industries, it will boost productivity to a new level, to a totally new level. That's number one. Which means that I think, or I hope, we'll get to a point where medical doctors are medical doctors again, right? So they're no longer bogged down with the information-related tasks because it takes so much of their time, and they just focus at patient care and caring about the people that they're looking after. And I'm hoping also teachers will become teachers again. Because now they can free themselves to look after the kids, because they know they've got the tools and the technology that can answer questions and they can help the kids go deeper. Now I know it's a very positive, beautiful view of the world and all that, but that's how we like to think about it. Okay? Now here's the thing, okay, and that's the reality. If we resist this technology, guess what will happen? It will continue to develop, it will get better and better and better, unless we get on board and understand how to make use of this technology to our benefit, we're going to be left behind. So, where do I think things are going? There'll be more development. If you asked me a year ago, or if you told me a year ago, I learned this the other day, I was on SBS, someone put me on that one, thank you. So, I've learned that in Japan or somewhere, an author, she won an award for the book that she wrote, and she admitted that she used ChatGPT to help her write the book. Not write the book, help her write the book, because I think the creativity of the human being is still there. If you told me a year ago that this will happen, I'd be like, no way, that's impossible. But look at where we are today, right? It's happening, okay? So anyways, just food for thought.
Thank you. Just a question in reference to accuracy of information. In the past, if you research something, say in Google, and you get the answers, you will always look at the source of where these answers are, and you could tell which is an authentic source and which is not. But when you're using things like ChatGPT and all of that, obviously it doesn't give you the source. How do we know, like when I'm doing a presentation, like you mentioned, you've done a presentation and got the data. Unless you actually do know the information beforehand, how do you know if that data is correct and dependable to be used?
So, again, remember I said ChatGPT is one application, and the first application, and it's the application that inspired everyone, right? And then what happened after that is there's obviously continuous development. People started to realize that, hey, this AI technology is, like, how do I know it's good and correct and all of that? So there are concepts in the industry, in the industry of AI and machine learning and all of that, we have this concept of responsible use of AI. We call it responsible AI. And part of that concept is there are certain principles around transparency and accountability of the systems that you build, right? So what you will see and what we have right now today, even ChatGPT, I don't know, I think it's the paid version, you actually get citations for the references and the information that it uses, right? Now, you don't have to go paid version. If you go to Bing Chat, so bing.com/chat, okay, that's a ChatGPT application built on the internet, on the data of the internet. And you search for something, you ask it to compare two products or to make a recommendation about certain product based on your requirements, and it will formulate the answer and will give you citation that I got this piece of information from this source, from that source. And of course, as a user, part of the responsible use is to kind of click on the link, have a look, does this sound credible, right?
Hi, thank you for an amazing presentation. My question is that for every question there's multiple answers, and does the AI have, I guess, an agenda, a personality, a bias? So for example, if you take things from an American perspective on the world, and you ask a question, you're going to get a different answer to, say, a Russian perspective of the world, or a particular subject. And does this have the risk of almost brain the masses, if it directs you a little bit in a particular direction? That's the first question. Second part is, how much of the technology... Sure, thank you.
I will forget the next question.
No, thank you.
So I almost forgot the question. So, the question, does AI have biases or personality and all of that? That's a risk, okay? Definitely a risk that it will have biases. Now, the biases of AI doesn't come from AI, it comes from people that trained it on to do certain things, okay? There's a big practice in data science and machine learning about how do you actually go and curate and select your data set in a certain way where you try to eliminate bias. Now, having said that, it's good to know that there is such practice, but then how do we know it's being applied, right? And this is why I feel that now is time for governments to step up and start governing and legislating, right? But again, I'm going to be very open and honest with you, right? This thing was not created by us, it was created by others. So it has biases for the others. Does that make sense?
For example, say AI technology, similar to a lot of social media.
Just different.
I guess we can also throw into the fact that the policies by the actual company are also in play as well, so they might want you to not use a certain word whenever dealing with it.
Thank you. You have answered a lot of my questions, but the one question I wanted to ask was, going on from Michael's, I Googled, do Israelis deserve freedom? And they said, absolutely, everyone deserves freedom. Then I Googled, do Palestinians deserve freedom? And the answer was, it's complicated. No, seriously. So the question is, can we train AI collectively to start looking at things differently? Can we, the general public?
So, presenting to this audience, I knew someone would ask this question. It's interesting. I was on the 7th of October, I was actually heading to the airport, flying to go to Canada to meet a customer, right? So woke up very early in the morning, heading to the airport, scrolling through my feed and looking at this, was like, whoa, what's happening? I was like, I really couldn't understand what's happening. It's very early in the morning. There's no one to talk to and try and understand what's going on. So I flew 14 hours flight, landed in Vancouver, take a connection, go to Montreal. Then eventually I arrived at my hotel and I'm going through the feed. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? This is crazy. This is madness. Interestingly, in that same week, I was presenting to an audience over there, and someone asked me the same question from the other party. I don't know, maybe he figured from my name that he needs to ask me this question. Look, biases do exist in AI, okay? And I made a comment like, this AI technology was not made by us. It was made by others, okay? Biases in AI come from the intentional or unintentional input from the people who trained that AI. Okay? So that exists, that's a battle, that's something we need to figure out. I don't have a good answer for you, sorry.
I've got an answer for you. Look up the Twitter experiment on how they used AI and see the result on that. You can Google that one. Bass.
Just a follow. It's a continuation of that, but not that much. So it's more online with considering the content is most likely coming from the internet, which has already been inputted, and it's regulated to a certain extent. So why would the government need to be regulating this? And how would they regulate it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of elements and factors here, right? So number one, what content are we allowed to use to train such AI? Okay. Again, reality is some commercial organizations, they have a higher ethical standard than others. Okay, that's reality. So some organizations will hold themselves to a higher standard and make sure that they only use data they have access to and allowed to use and all of that to train. Others will not. Okay, others will just go and scrape anything, whether they have rights over it or not, and use that to train. So that's one element, like what data do you use and how do you regulate that, okay? And also if you can prove, like someone, I think there was a case around generation of music and lyrics, and they found that the AI that was trained to do this maybe somehow used some copyrighted material and as a result created something that infringes on some copyrights, okay? So obviously there's court battles happening on this topic in different domains. It's going to lead us to, as a part of that legislation and regulation that need to happen. Like, are we doing the right thing when we access people's data or copyrighted material to train the AI? And how do you stop the unlawful access of such material, right? That's one thing. The other thing, which is, I think, very important in terms of legislation, is how do you govern the AI to make sure that AI is fair? Okay, that's very important because, and it's not a secret. Like, we've got people here that work in lending, right? And again, all the banks, they use AI models. Again, AI is not new. It's not yesterday. It's just that it became talk of the town yesterday, but it's been there forever, right? So we've got people that work in lending, and we all know that in that practice, they have certain type of risk models that you feed it information about people and applicants and whatnot, and it will give recommendations on the risk level, and as a result might also make recommendations around, do I lend or not lend? Okay? Now, if you think about it, how do I know that this AI is not discriminating intentionally or unintentionally, and as a result is not giving someone from a certain ethnic background or a certain postcode a loan just because they are of a certain ethnic background? Which, by the way, there are cases like that. Okay, this is why people realize that we actually need to pay more attention and start regulating and legislating for use of AI.
Excellent. I do apologise. We do have a couple more, if you don't mind bearing us with us on stage. He's a globetrotter, this fella, so we're very grateful to have him with us.
Thank you so much for the beautiful presentation. You can see how excited you are about what you deliver. Everyone, like I can see the energy, it's beautiful energy. I've got a comment and a question. The comment is, imagine combining the video software that you just showed us with the 3D technology. Scary, really, to say something and then you leave it and see it at the same time. Now, the second thing that I was actually asked, I don't know if you've seen the series Person of Interest, where they decided to create this machine to gather information for armies, but that machine became more intelligent and actually controlled the human. I know it's scary, but can it happen? Thank you.
I don't want to scare you, but there are toy examples of this scenario where we call it, like in the industry, we call it autogen or agents, right? Where you put AI agents against each other and just let them go with a certain goal, and they will go and start doing things. Of course, when I say go and start doing things, they're just printing letters on a computer screen. They're not actually doing anything because they don't have access to the physical world. And that's the key thing, right? Again, I can write a piece of code, software code, that has access to the physical world and turn on a lift, or turn it off, or turn the lights on, turn the heater on, turn it off, the air conditioning and all. I can do that, right? Now, if I hook AI to all of that, things could happen. Again, we go back to the point of responsible use of AI. Now, is the technology advanced enough for world domination? I don't think so. Will it get there? I don't know, right? But like even if I'm using it for something really, really simple, like for instance in those self-driving cars, there's so much AI in there, right? So we really need to start applying this responsible use of AI concepts in everything we do. Like imagine the dilemma that a self-driving car will face if they're about to hit a pedestrian, there is a kid, and the only way to save that kid is to hit another pedestrian who's an elderly. How does it decide? So I think, you think like, as a human being, you cannot make that decision. As a human being, probably you'll hit one or the other by mistake, okay? Because your reaction time is rubbish. But as a machine, their reaction time is much better than ours, and they make a decision based on some logic, okay? So the question becomes, who's accountable for that decision? Again, it goes back to the same point I was talking about, like the responsible use of AI and the legislation for the use of AI. Should we allow such technology to be in control of something that can cause harm? That's a piece of legislation. I think that people are elected to make to have those debates and make those decisions.
Okay, so I have a final 3 questions, and let's see if we can do more than one hit. 1, 2, and Gloria at the end.
Thank you very much. On the things that I've actually seen, there is definitely progress on voice recognition and copying, physical features, 3D, it's already there. Certainly advanced enough to say it will be there very soon. You're suggesting that governments need to take that action. I'd love to take it the other way and say, since it's inevitable to actually get us to use it, then how can we within ourselves restrict use of such information that we might choose to use? Because at the moment, we're effectively, by signing, yes, I want to use it, you've basically said the only way you're going to use it is to actually allow us to get everything. So how do we stop that? And is there something that you can, for example, as a user and developer, would you have ways to simply restrict such access?
It's a good one. Good story. I was having a similar conversation with one of our lawyers today. because a scenario came up, because we do have the technology to copy your voice, by the way. I can take your voice, I can copy it, and then guess what? I can make you speak Chinese, Japanese, Spanish. Now we do have that technology, it's there, right? But we don't provide this technology to people, right? We're self-governing, at least on our side. We're self-governing that we don't make this technology available to people or organizations. For instance, we have very advanced face recognition technology. We don't provide this to law enforcement. It's a policy. We don't provide it to law enforcement. Others do. That's a different story. We have an issue there. Okay? So that's one thing. Okay? Again, I keep going back to legislation and policy and governance and all of that. That's important. But also as an individual, like obviously there are elements of cybersecurity in the question and where we're heading. Obviously, don't put everything on the internet. Yeah, so there's this concept in AI. It's called deep fakes these days, right? Like you can create a fake human being and all of that. And there is also countermeasures to try to help detect those deep fakes. So that's a battle between the good and the bad in the world of AI. Now, what can you do? Again, like if you're asking on an individual, personal level, right? Don't put information on the internet as much as you can.
I know it's taken too long and you're getting hungry. That's a good question. When we created the calculator, we stopped working out numbers in the back of our mind. When we started having Google Maps, we stopped looking for direction. It's guiding us everywhere, the same with computers and iPhones and so on. With AI doing all the thinking for us, is the human mind becoming redundant?
Potentially, yes. Just because I've seen people that cannot tell directions without Google Maps. So I know it's actually a possibility, right? Look, one of the dilemmas we're facing right now is we don't really know what's the social impact of this technology on the generations to come. All we know is that we've seen examples of how technology has changed generations, like the calculator, the iPhone, and all of that. And we know, depending on which generation you come from, mostly we look at it and we don't agree with it. Okay? Now we are entering a new age, and as much as I love AI, I think it will have an impact on the next generation. That's the sad reality. Okay? So what do we do? I think part of what we do is we need to be aware of what's happening. Maybe, I don't know, Allah barhamna and we'll figure it out.
Okay, lucky last.
Thank you. Again, an amazing presentation, and I love your passion for it and your knowledge, so thank you. A really quick question, kind of relating back to what Reem was saying in regard to, you know how in ChatGPT at the moment, you can create a chat and it learns what it is that you want. So, you know, based on a customer, based on your business, whatever it is, could we almost reverse engineer it so that it starts to learn from us, considering it learns from what we put into it and gives us information back?
Going to be very abstract, okay? The short answer is yes, right? And if you think about it, ChatGPT, again, I will repeat this one more time in case you missed it. ChatGPT is one example application of this technology. It's the application that made this thing very popular, right? But then, and look, it's available for people for free. Go and use it, right? And it's there, or started primarily to demonstrate how powerful this technology is. Okay? Now, when organizations are applying this AI in their context for their business or for education sector and all of that, there's a lot of work that goes into, I don't know if the right word to use, creating that personality and experience of that AI model so that it suits your needs. Okay? So there is such thing. Okay? And again, I'm going to keep it very abstract because otherwise I get very technical very quickly. Okay? But the short answer is yes.
Excellent. That's all the questions for now. So a big round of applause for Mutaz Abu Ghazaleh for that fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
So we'll take like a short break at the moment. We'll be back again in 10 minutes for general business. At the moment, please let the man enjoy his meal and we'll bombard you with 1,000 more questions a bit later. But thank you very much, sir, on a fantastic presentation.